Good morning, everyone. Well, this is very new to me. I feel quite awkward doing a video, but let's go ahead and try. I hope that it's going to all help you to understand the work. It's going to be easier to do it this way. I think I'm going to try and do at least one video a week, depending on what the lesson is. I hope today finds you all well and happy, and healthy above all. We're waiting to hear what the authorities are going to tell us about when school is going back. But in the meantime, we have to do the best that we can with what we have. Obviously, as teachers, our strengths lie in being with you and interacting with you and getting your feedback. But at this point, we can't do that. So second best is doing recorded lessons or live streaming. I've chosen to do the recorded lesson because I feel that there's two advantages. First of all, the one is that you can watch the video or the video clip whenever you are ready. You can do it according to your school timetable if you're going according to that. Or, you can do it at whatever time suits you. Plus, if there's anything that you feel you didn't quite understand, you can go back and watch certain sections again. So I hope this is going to work for you. Today, I want to go over and explain the poem that I asked you to read and write a short paragraph on. I didn't want you to go into great depth. I just wanted to see what you got out of it to start with. Okay, and before we discuss that poem, I don't know if you remember a couple of weeks back, in fact last term, we did a poem in class called The Aliens Have Landed. That poem was light and humorous, but the poem was a metaphor. The metaphor because it likened teachers to aliens. So now, the poem that you've done now is also a metaphor. I'm sure a lot of you have written your paragraphs just explaining literally what it meant. I'll be interested if you have managed to decipher it on your own and go a little bit deeper. And if you have and you want to WhatsApp me personally, please feel free to do it. I will be interested. But I think most of you would have said to me that it's a poem about comparing birds that are in a cage and birds that are free, and how the only thing that a bird in a cage can do is sing, whilst the others can fly and do whatever they like. So if you've written that, it's not incorrect, but we're going to go deeper into this poem. Before you can totally understand poems that are a little bit more adult or, a little bit more going up into high school, you have to know a little bit about the author. In this case, the author is Maya Angelou. She was an American poet and singer. Often poetry and singing go hand in hand. Well, not singing, but writing of music, because they're quite similar. So she was a poet and a singer. She was also a civil rights activist. That means that she actually fought for human rights, not necessarily by fighting physically, but by using the power of the word, the spoken word, the written word. And by writing about what she felt in her heart, she hoped that it would reach out and touch people. And she wrote many poems. This one is one of her most famous, and I think that in a short poem, she manages to capture very strongly how she feels. And we will go into it more. She died about 6 years ago, but she has left a legacy of wonderful poetry and some wonderful stories. Now, this poem is also a metaphor. So that's why I said to you, I don't know if any of you got that part of it, not that it matters, but it's also a metaphor because it's comparing birds to human beings. It's likening, as I said, a metaphor is saying that something is like something without using the word like, but she is comparing birds to humans, and we'll go into it a little bit further. Did any one of you pick up that the main theme of this is freedom? I don't know if any of you mentioned that. If you have also, as I said, you can WhatsApp me and tell me what you felt about it. That is not a must. You don't have to message me. I'm just asking if you do want to discuss anything, please feel free. All right, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to read the poem once through. If you've got please have your books with you, and then you can follow it with me. Then we'll read it through again, and I'm going to break it up with little explanations. And then after that, we're going to go into discussing the questions and answers. And you're going to be doing those questions. You're going to answer them fully on your own. But as I said, you can refer back to the video if you don't remember. Just a few more notes on the poem. And this is something that, because she was an activist, she talks about racial segregation. And I know you think, well, racial segregation, she's writing about birds. But she was a black lady that lived, a few years back. And at the time, there was quite a lot more racial segregation, even in America. And also, she wrote about women's rights. There's a lot of women, especially black women, that felt very oppressed, very downtrodden. And so the theme of a lot of her poems and a lot of her stories is about this racial oppression and women's oppression. Okay? Now, both racial segregation and downtrodden women show a huge lack of freedom. The poem represents the poet's sense of being trapped. She's always felt that she hasn't had her full freedom as a result of being oppressed or held down. The author compares the free bird and the caged bird to show how a caged bird should be living. A caged bird is confined to its narrow cage or its cage. It can't spread its wings are clipped often. It's the only thing that it can do is sing. That it has the freedom to do is to sing. Whereas a free bird can fly, it can soar on the wind, it can fly into trees, it can seek a mate. A free bird can do basically whatever it wants. So the caged bird is then a metaphor for those that are oppressed or held down. So I know this is far-fetched maybe from what you understood, but that's fine. That's what this lesson is all about. So now I'm going to read the poem, and then we're going to be stopping and discussing a little bit more detail. So it says, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends and dips his wing in the orange sun's rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade wind soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn bright. It says, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. But a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. Okay, there's quite a few things that maybe need to be explained, and I'm going to do my best. The first stanza, which says a free bird leaps on the back of the wind, it's basically just explaining to you how wonderful the freedom of a bird that is out in the wild is, that he can float on the wind, that he can dip his wings, and it describes the beautiful sunset in the back. And it says he dares to claim the sky. In other words, he can pretend that the sky is his, because it actually is his. It's his home. It's where he lives. It's where he can go. So he dares to claim it as his own. And then the next verse, excuse me, it says, but a bird that stalks down his narrow cage. Now, they call the cage narrow. We don't know, what the size is, but any cage is not as wide as the sky. So they're using the word narrow to compare to the width of the sky. And it says he can seldom see through the bars of rage. So they're using the bars. Obviously, you can see out of the bars, but they're using the bars as if like a prison bar. And they're saying that he is angry. He's angry because he's in a cage, and he can't see past that feeling of anger and frustration. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied. It doesn't necessarily mean that his wings are clipped literally or that his feet are tied literally, because obviously people don't tie birds' feet up in a cage, but it means that he can't walk freely and he cannot fly freely. So it's just as well that his wings could be clipped and his feet tied, because he doesn't have the freedom to fly. So he opens his throat to sing. The one thing that he still can do is sing. The thing that also, what she's trying to explain here is that even though people often are oppressed and are down and feel trapped and caged, they can still show their positive side. They can still do something. And the one thing that he can do is sing absolutely beautifully. So he does it. And here I just want to say something, because I specifically chose this poem because, in a way, guys, we're also a little bit trapped, aren't we, at the moment? We're in lockdown. We feel like we're in a cage a little bit. We are not free to go out and soar and sing. But there are a lot of things and a lot of positive things that we can do. And here, where it says that this little bird can open its throat to sing, you guys have already shown me by some of your presentations, which I have loved, by the way. You've already shown me how many things you are doing at home and what you are enjoying doing at home, and that you're making the best of it. And basically, that this stanza in the poem is what is saying that despite the fact that this little bird is caged, it can still sing. Okay, then it describes again, the caged bird sings with a fearful trill. Now, fearful because obviously he's caged and he's afraid, he's feeling fear. Trill is that very fast flapping of wings. It's almost like a frantic flapping that they do because they're afraid, okay? He sings with this fear and the flapping of wings of things unknown but longed for still. Obviously, most caged birds don't know about what is out there for them, but they long for something that is out there. And his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. And it says that his little voice is carried far away, and it's heard by many because he's singing about being free. Okay? The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade wind soft through the sighing trees, the fat worms waiting on a dawn-bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. Once again, it's comparing, so that the free bird is thinking of different breezes, the trade winds, the trees, the fat worms that he can go and dig up out of the ground, and he names the sky his own, which is in similar light to he dares to claim the sky. But a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. In other words, he can't even dream about those things. So it's like they're dead. Those dreams are dead to him. So he's going to be standing on their grave. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. In other words, it's like he's screaming for that freedom because he cannot have it. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with the fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. Okay, so I hope now that you have a better understanding of the poem. So let's just go over the few questions. There's only a few. Once you've done them, you may take a screenshot of the answers and you can WhatsApp them to me. I will give you some feedback on your answers. These Explore books will all be marked once we get back to school. Okay? So don't fret too much. I would like to see what some of your answers are, but obviously if I'm going over them already, it's not a matter of giving you marks for them, etc. Okay, so first of all it says, how does the title relate to the poem? Okay, the title suggests that the poet knows why. Despite being caged, a bird will sing. This means that she herself feels trapped and can give reasons why there's still happiness despite feeling trapped. That's what I was talking to you about, like we're all having to stay in our homes. We're still finding things to be happy about. And we need to find things to be happy about, otherwise we wouldn't survive, would we, guys? All of us have got different things that are making us happy. And the poet is saying that despite feeling trapped, there are still reasons. So the tone of this poem, guys, is sad. It's sad, but there's hope and there's still happiness. Okay. Now, how, according to the poet, is the caged bird different to the bird that is free? The free bird can float downstream, dip his wings, dare to claim the sky. The caged bird can only stalk his cage. He has no freedom of movement. He can only dare to dream. He cannot claim the sky. He doesn't understand what is out there, but he can still sing. And then it says, read the second last stanza. What does the poet feel about a caged bird? Quote, to prove what you are saying. She feels that the caged bird is enraged and unhappy. He has no freedom of movement, and he can only escape by opening his mouth to sing. And quoting means that you can just put in inverted commas any line that is actually telling you those very words. And then the last question, Maya Angelou can be considered a feminist writer. Feminist means that she stands up for women's rights. Read the poem again and decide whether she may be making comments about women in society. And the answer basically is that she most certainly feels that women, especially black women in society, have few freedoms. She feels that they are trapped by norms and laws and even some traditions. And she feels that they can only sing. Okay, so guys, that was a little bit of a sum up of the poem. I hope that it's made it clear to you and that you can do these questions. I am going to be sending some more work through via Google Classroom. I hope you're going to find it enjoyable to use and easy to access. But we'll use the WhatsApp and Google Classroom together. Because and even if your parents want to email me answers, etc., please, they must all feel free to do that. We're going to be doing some grammar next week and some transactional writing. If you remember last term we did the friendly letter, and next week we're going to be doing a business letter. And I will talk you through that and explain all of that to you. And then you're going to be doing your own one for me. So we're going to carry on until such time as we can all be together in the classroom. I really do miss you guys. And for a teacher, it's very, very hard to try and teach without having you there and being able to interact with you. Also, most of our strengths lie in talking to you directly, not in all this internet and whatever we have to deal with. It's very, very awkward for us. So, guys, I hope that this lesson has meant something to you. And if there are any issues and there's something you don't understand, please feel free to WhatsApp me privately. Okay, guys, God bless, love you all.